You're listening to the IDEAfit Pro Show, the podcast that empowers fitness professionals to reach their highest potential personally and professionally. Whether you're a seasoned veteran or just starting your fitness journey, you're in the right place. Each week, we bring you expert interviews, industry trends, and practical strategies to elevate your fitness career and enhance your impact on clients' lives. I'm your host, Amy Boone-Thompson. I'm the proud owner and CEO of IDEA and a certified fitness professional for over 30 years. Hello and welcome to the IDEAfit Pro Show. We have such a great episode for you today. Today's guest is one of our top-rated presenters. He is a former professional athlete, now coach, who brings performance, presence, and power to everything he does. Our guest today is Dane Robinson. He's a coach, a presenter, a host, a dynamic leader in the fitness industry. And Dane is known for teaching pros how to coach group fitness like a Hollywood movie by transforming workouts into immersive, high-energy experiences that captivate, inspire, and leave participants wanting more. Beyond the classroom, Dane has expanded his influence into presenting to pros around the world. He is a regular expert for the Today Show. He works with top brands to deliver intoxicating keynotes, and he's a highly sought after MC, proving that a skill set of the athlete fitness coach can open doors far beyond the gym floor. Joining us today from one of my favorite cities, Atlanta, is Dane Robinson. Welcome to the IDEAfit Pro Show.
Yeah, let's go, Amy. Oh, man, I was getting I was out of breath just kind of listening. Like, I've done all that? I've done all that? Yikes. Whew. But, man, yeah, here we are.
Done all that, and I think you're just getting started, Dane. I mean, I have to say, you're just on the brink of your career here.
I will double down on that. There's something burning inside me. Felt like as much as I've done and as far as I've gotten to this point, I still feel like I'm just getting started.
Just getting started. Well, before we go forward into what you're going to be focusing on, I want to take a step back. And also, I want to acknowledge this is your first time as a guest on the IDEAfit Pro Show. So for people who come to our events, they've had some Dane as a presenter. And like I said, your sessions are always top rated. And if you watch TV, you've seen Dane, but we've never interviewed you on the show. So we're just delighted to introduce you to our wider audience.
Long-time listener, first-time caller.
Yes, good. Okay, good. So let's go back. I want to hear, how did you get your start? I know you're an athlete and that might have brought you into fitness, but tell us, how did you transition into fitness and what brought you to where you are today?
Yeah, I'm going to try to give you as much of the Spark Notes version as I can for those of you that still remember what Spark Notes used to be before AI kind of took over. It did stem from my opportunities as a professional and collegiate football player. And it's not a great career choice because the odds are against you in any professional, sporting segment. I mean, your daughter's playing collegiate, volleyball, and son's in collegiate, basketball, I believe. And it's kind of like you've already beaten the odds, but it only gets harder when you try to now get paid to do that. So I started to make a pivot into, all right, I like working out, but maybe I could train other people. And I remember begging and pleading for a job at Bally Total Fitness. If y'all remember that, mopping floors, begging for a job. And that slowly transformed into personal training, certification when I was, getting certified through NASM, which I still hold to this day. From there, I would like to say, like Drake said, I started from the bottom and now I'm here. When I moved down to Atlanta, I didn't have a job. We blind bought a condo right after college and I was peddling my resume around. And I just worked from being present in a club that was back here in the day. It was called Atlanta Fitness, now One Life Fitness. Shout out to US Fitness Holdings. And I worked from that aspect of being in the club and working sessions on times that maybe weren't favorable. And that led me to having and learning through the right people that elevated me to like some regional director roles, probably sooner than I was ready for, but they saw the leadership qualities. Learning not just the squats and burpees of our industry, but also the mechanics of our industry, from member experience to payroll and expense and profit margins and all those aspects that really make this a big industry. From there, Amy, the story gets a little interesting because I knew I wanted to have a bigger impact on the fitness industry as a whole, maybe more in my local zip code. And it took we'll call it a boss from that point when I expressed this idea, no pun intended, that I wanted to speak, I wanted to present, I wanted to have a bigger impact in the world. And I was met with the words, to some paraphrasing of, well, why? It's not like you're crushing it or killing it anywhere. And I still remember how that was like a punch in the chest for me because obviously this person saw my ceiling way lower than I really had envisioned it. So I made a decision at that point in time to kind of pivot out of corporate fitness, if you will, and start over and bet on myself and figure out how to present and put in the applications and create the content and build it slowly but surely and work into the different pillars of our industry from education to presentation while never letting go of the foundation of personal training and group fitness work. And fast forward several years later, uh, here we are. And I feel like the best thing sometimes you can tell somebody is that they can't do it. That's all the motivation I need because bringing it full circle, I'm an athlete and I'm a
Mm.
competitor and I will compete, even if it's against my own self and the odds, however they're stacked against me.
Amazing. So I always hire athletes whenever I can because they bring a certain grit and an intensity and an intention, and they like to compete with themselves, but also health in a healthy way with others in their organization. So I always love to hire athletes, and I love what you said about competing with a no or being told no, and then saying, okay, I could take that and I could stay in this job forever and maybe be mediocre at it or just okay at it, but you followed your dream. You took that no as motivation and you said, I'm gonna start my own business. What does your business look like today? Tell the audience what you're doing, more about what you're doing today.
Yeah, today, I tell you what, it's the I don't even say 10-year overnight success because I still feel just like that athlete mentality. I'm happy, but I'm never satisfied. This thing is never really where I think it can be, but I really have created a strong portfolio that's rooted from where I've started in fitness, and I always kind of categorize it in the pillars of that pillar of fitness is always going to be there. Where yes, I still personal train to this day. I still teach group classes because it's fun. It's awesome. I have a knack for it. I've built some unconscious competence when it comes to putting on a mic and music and let's get after it. And expanding that into other aspects, like you mentioned, in how do I present fitness on camera? Even expanding it into the world of virtual fitness and VR fitness, where I'm actually not doing any physical movement, but I'm vocalizing it. I'm a voiceover, in that aspect there. So expanding in the meta version of fitness. The other prongs then is the extension, the dynamics and the energy that I try to bring in a group fitness class. I found a way, I would say I found a way, but it was easy to parlay into hosting and emceeing, which I never really thought was going to be a career path for me or even part of my narrative. But once I saw that hosting an event, emceeing an event is just the group fitness class without the squats and burpees, I was like, I got this. This is easy. It's nothing. And then the last part was kind of what you gave me the opportunity to do was just tell my story and understand of what my keynote of like to call win like an athlete. And knowing that just because I'm not putting on a helmet, I'm not lacing up my cleats anymore, doesn't mean that my identity as an athlete's actually done because I believe life is a sport. We're competing every single day, and we some and Amy, you're leading idea, and there's days that that you feel like, man, I won the day, and there's days where you're like, I lost, and how do we deal with those wins and losses? So that is what the humble beginnings of mopping floors at Bally Total Fitness, being told no when I was attending, and I know we'll talk about this in a little bit, when I was attending my first fitness conferences, because again, as a competitor, I want to see or I want to know who's doing it better than me. I don't want to figure this out on my own. I'm going to go see who's doing it better than me and just copy that. But in doing that, Amy, I saw some presenters and everything like that. And I said, I could do this. And then the competitor in me said, I could probably do this better than who's in front of me right now. So that burned a passion, but that's where again, mopping floors all the way to giving keynotes on how to win in this sport called life. That's how it's all wrapped together. But again, fitness was always the catalyst in the start.
Always the catalyst. So, okay, how did you come to that first convention? What is your idea story? When did you first learn of us? How has idea been woven into this career that you've created?
It was just doing research, and there was a boss. I would say now I won't use the word boss all too much. I will use the word, I think, mentor, and I think somebody who saw a lot of potential in me at my very first personal training club I was at in Buffalo, New York. It was called Hive Lifespan Center. It wasn't a gym; it was a lifespan center, a very New York vibe in Buffalo, New York. Shout out to Chris Salisbury, but he always encouraged me to. He saw the competitor in me and to learn. And he had given me, some resources, and, he's like, hey, there's this idea, it was called Idea East, PTI East at the time. And I was just like, I'm from the East Coast. We're on the East Coast. I can make this happen. Now, mind you, this is post-college Dane and still figuring out football and everything like that. And, finances are rough right now. But I was motivated to get my butt down there and to be immersed in this industry. Like, let's not do this, halfway. So I remember trying to figure out how to scrounge up a tickets. I think I had to ask my mom for some help to get a flight down to, I believe it was in the DMV area, which I'm originally from. So that made it easier as well. And I remember Todd Durkin was doing a pre-conference aspect of his impact day of impact, I believe it was called. And again, I don't know what made me be like, oh yeah, I should absolutely do this. But internet, right? I'm looking on there and I'm like, this guy Todd is everywhere. And he also comes from the sporting world. Why wouldn't I want to be there? So again, all financial odds, I made it there. And I swear to you, Amy, by the time I got there on Thursday and I left there on Sunday, number one, my body has never been that sore. I remember, because I was just always moving. I was always moving. I was always hungry, but also my cup was so full in that I'm in the right industry. I heard so many experts, talk about what's the recipe, and I was just gathering ingredients. I think that's how I saw it as. I'm just gathering a little ingredients here and there to make my own recipe, but it's on me to put all the ingredients together and create something of my own. But I got to put myself in the grocery store, if you will, to gather the ingredients and listen from these experts.
Oh, I love how you described that. And first of all, Todd Durkin has been also comes from the football world. He actually trained one of my brothers for the combine. I don't know if you knew that.
Yes. I'm not surprised, though. I'm not surprised at all.
Way back. But that was a pivotal moment for you where you came, and a lot of people say this is where I found my people. I found people who not only did I respect, but I wanted to be more like them. I wanted to get more of that experience. So thank you for sharing that idea story. And one of the things I've admired about your career and the way you're choosing to show up at these events is that, first of all, you bring this, like I said, intoxicating energy that you bring, that you're magnetic in that way. People want to get to know you. You network like a pro. So you're always meeting people. And what I love most is you bring your family whenever possible. You are a family first guy. And that's something that I always did in my career. If I was going to be away from my babies, they were coming with me if I could, but if I couldn't, then they needed to know where mom was going, what she's doing, and why she can't be with you at that time. So shout out to your family. I know you've got 2 babies now. Can't wait to meet number 2.
Yeah, I feel like you've seen me in so many iterations in this progression. And I think that's the awesome part about being a part of this idea community of, number one, I find myself presenting along people that I was in their sessions as didn't know jack from squat, in that regard. And then finding this community and them kind of seeing my progressions of how I'm developing my career. But then from a family side of things, seeing me with one kid. And I still remember it was in Chicago during an idea conference, I believe, and where my first daughter Reese is like, that's the weekend she decided like, I'm gonna learn how to walk. I'm gonna learn how to walk and walk all over this hotel everywhere. So I was like chasing her around, and like you said, now you know everyone has seen me or is seeing me now with two. So that's something I didn't expect. I think being a part of this community. Yes, I knew I was going to find my people. Yes, I knew I was going to learn things and challenge, different aspects of where I could be as a fitness professional, but I wasn't expecting that to grow up, so to speak, in front of so many people that I respected and admired.
Yes, and then in the next chapter is growing old with all of these people. So you grow up, you've all seen us like have our babies, raise our kids, get them off to college and whatnot, and then we come back and now we're all we'll be grandparents and we'll be doing this because you can do this forever.
I
Um,
feel you on that. I mean, I got more gray hairs from my first time presenting an idea to this. There's definitely more gray hairs that have showed
yeah.
up for sure.
Okay, so I want to talk more about the types of courses that you're coaching today. What do you think separates you from other presenters? Like if someone's thinking about, okay, well, what is Dane teaching? What is his superpower, if you will? Where have you found your niche? And tell us more about the types of courses that you're teaching.
Okay, so let me stretch
Yep.
this one. Okay, so let me start off saying is that any session that somebody goes to at an idea conference, it's not a shameless plug, this is truth. Any session somebody goes to at an idea conference, it's a good session. It's a great session. But when you step into the room with me, you're in the right one. You're in the right room. And I make it that way because I tend to shine the spotlight on the attendees. I'm just holding up a mirror because I make it very attendee you centric. I think what also allows me to, have such a memorable experience for anybody that comes to my sessions is that my superpower, like you had mentioned, is not just the energy. It's not just being rah rah sis boom bah. I think I like the aspect, and it's kind of the anti-sell of like, I may not be teaching you anything you don't already know, and that's okay. What I am going to do is I'm going to get you from thinking 5100s, quick math quiz, 5100s, and I'm going to let you start thinking one half. 5100s is just one half. But we in this industry, sometimes more often than not, think 5100s and make it a little bit more complicated than what it needs to be. So I'm going to reduce a lot of this information down to its least common denominator so that we can apply practicality to it. Because again, full circle, that's how I learned as an athlete. I don't need to know every page of the playbook and everything, but I always kept thinking, how do I just make this the simplest form in my mind so that I can then execute at a high level when it's game time, if you will. So, and that puts a lot of ease, I think, for attendees when I lead with, I'm going to just reduce this down so that you can understand it in its simplest terms, in its simplest idea, and then that's going to translate to you actually applying what we're talking about here. Because not to be too transparent, but I would hate going to sessions and feeling like I had a great time. I had a good workout, everything. But as soon as I crossed that door on the other side, it was kind of like, what did we just talk about? What are we doing? How am I actually going to apply any of this? And that causes, I think, a lot of my motivation when I am, presenting a session is that I got to give Amy and two things, an ROT and an ROE, a return on time and a return on your effort and energy. I can't give you those 90 minutes to 75 minutes to however long back. And that scares the crap out of me because if you left and felt like I could have been doing something better with that time, oh man, that keeps me up at night. But then also getting a return on your effort and energy, whether that be mental or in the physical sense, because it's holding that group fitness accountability of like, you showed up in my room, you chose to be here, nobody forced you to be here, so I have a responsibility to make sure that you get the most out of your physical presence here again, whether that be physical, mental, or both. So I think that's where I've really crafted this down to what can make this stand out as a great, memorable experience, but also practically educational or educationally practical, if you will, so that they felt like I had a great time, I didn't waste time, and I'm ready to apply it the next time.
That's right. And you are teaching transferable practical skills that someone can take back to elevate whatever class they're teaching. I think that's the really unique thing about your teaching, is that you're maybe not going in into one category or one modality and teaching the science and the technique behind that. No, you're teaching whatever your specialty is. How do you help your attendees to walk away with that magic so that they can actually connect and get the most from the experience from a community standpoint, but also from really just making the experience fun, making fitness fun, and bringing the energy that helps people to feel loved, feel connected, which is what we do in fitness, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's one of my favorite aspects of when I'm teaching and presenting, whether it's in the group fitness aspect or yes, when we niche it down into something sports specific. But I try to make sure that you are the thing. Like you are what people are coming for. You just have to apply just a little foundation to, again, either the subject matter that we're talking about, which might be coaching and cueing, or how we bring in maybe this athletic mindset and programming to the everyday world to somebody that has never touched a basketball court or a football field or a swimming pool ever in their life, but they want to feel like an athlete. They feel like an athlete when they're chasing around their grandkids or their toddler. That's a sport, Amy, as you well know. That is
Yes.
such a competitive sport, and
Yeah.
football was honestly easier than the sport of toddler racing around. Anyway, I'm getting off topic. But that being said, I think that's where it's important to have somebody understand that it is about the experience, and when the experience is memorable, the information sticks and the
Yeah.
training sticks as well. But I love being able to make sure that it's rooted in experience, but also it's anchored in information and not just and not just opinions in theory.
Sure. Yeah. And you know what you made me think of as you were explaining that is we often say the best, very, very best presenters or instructors are the ones that the audience will come for. So they come for you because you're magnetic and you're warm as a presenter. But the presenter knows it's never about them. This is actually in our Idea Presenter Creed. I don't know if you've ever read the creed that I wrote, but this is the secret sauce of any best presenter wherever you are around the world and whatever you're teaching. The secret is that you want to have a class where people come for you for what it is you're bringing, your secret sauce, but it's because the way you make them feel when they leave. And that's what you also do as a presenter. So I just want to acknowledge that. I see that that's what you do as a human being and as a presenter.
Well, thank you. And it is like, such a positive Jedi mind trick, right? The way you make it more about them, the more they gravitate to you. And that's where the translation I was talking about earlier on like what's happening outside of fitness and where have those transferable skills in fitness help me in other like arenas, if you will. Is we also when I hear group fitness coaches or personal trainers saying I can't do public speaking or I can't work out of this industry all too much. I'm like, they're transferable skills because if you understand, like you just said, like it's about them. Like you make it, it's about you internally, but you make it about them. That is the skill of a great host. Like what you're doing right now, that is the skill of a great public speaker, is that you're able to be the narrator in their hero and heroine story. And because you're that voice in their head, and the way that you project that, it pulls them so much closer to you without even trying. It's like any exercise. It takes reps to kind of figure it out. It's not easy in the beginning because you're playing with a lot of mentalities and psyches and egos. But once you feel like you got those reps down, like you feel like you can hold this plank all day, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, so let's elaborate on this a little bit because you, in your own career, have been able to transfer what you've done in a fitness class and studio to the biggest stage there is, being in front of millions of viewers. What did you have to learn, or I guess, how did you get to that point of, let's say you're teaching in front of a couple, 50, 20, 100 people in a club, to now speaking into a camera lens to millions of people in their living rooms? What was that transformation like for you, and how did you teach yourself to be ready for that?
I think like most, it was trying to find what are the similarities. The similarities, number one, are going to be the preparation. The same way that we spend, whether we like to admit it or not, hours playlisting and hours kind of like figuring out the programming and rehearsing the programming and driving in the car, talking to ourselves about, a 3, 2, 1 countdown, or what are we going to say in this moment there. I think the preparation was always going to be the same. And it was the same, whether it's for a 45-minute class or 5 minutes at Studio 1A in Rockefeller Center. That feels like 45 minutes. And honestly, if NBC gives me 5 minutes, that is a lifetime. That is a lifetime on air. Typically, you'll be happy to get like 3 minutes. All depends on what's happening in the day. But what I also think helped me prepare and was understanding that intimacy just had to be pushed a little bit more, meaning that I had to really think about Susie Q or Joe Smith sitting in their living room, listening and watching me, Craig, Dylan, and Chanel and Al kind of talk about whatever the subject matter is on movement and fitness that day. The same way that when you make eye contact with somebody in class, like you're talking to the whole class, but you make specific eye contact and you kind of hold that eye contact for a little bit and you make that person feel seen. Or when you kind of flip off the mic for a second, I'm talking to all my group fitness instructors out there, aspects wise. When you flip off the mic and you get into somebody's bubble, you just check on them, or maybe it's a hand on the shoulder, or all those different things that it's one to many, but somehow you make it feel one to one. So I had to double down on that really, really well and like look deep into that camera lens and put myself in that aspect. I think the third and final thing in preparation was what I coach a lot with our group fitness instructors, and I think even personal trainers, is doubling down on who I am, not trying to be something I'm not, because I think that is a very dangerous place, especially when it's such high stakes, if you will. It's a small studio, but high stakes. On NBC with the Today Show, and I know for me, my primary, persona is energizer. It's being fun. It's being a cheerleader for everybody. But I also know that my secondary persona is that football player, is that competitive athlete, that little drill sergeant aspect here. So it was leaning into how do I be big and bold and expressive with being that cheerleader, giving them enough anchor of like, this guy, like not just knows his stuff, but also like has like a purpose, outside of just being a fun loving guy in that regard, and elevating that too. So those were, I think, those three things I had to like figure out, but also knew I had the recipe. Going back to the whole recipe thing, I had the ingredients. It's just how do I apply them slightly differently to a different arena, versus in person versus millions of watching for a very small window of time. And I'll throw one last thing in there, Amy. It's the unpredictability, because we know sometimes in sessions and in classes, things happen all the time, especially if you're in a studio or a club with a lot of technology, or music goes out, or somebody knocks over some water and there's water all over the floor and you got to figure out how to keep the session moving, all that kind of stuff. Also, same thing in TV land, because maybe we have 5 minutes, but something got changed in programming for the rest of the day, and I see the guy behind the camera going like, we got to be a hard out. Or I had my idea of like, we're going to talk about these fun 5 core moves for the summer, but Al and Craig have a completely different direction that they want to go, and I got to just play catch up from there, but make it all seem seamless. So I had that point. Pivot.
That's so true. Like they could change and it could flip on a dime, and you need to be ready for anything, just like an athlete, just like a parent. Like all of those things are unpredictable in the sense. But I think what's exciting is now, because you had all that experience, what you're able to bring to our IDEA attendees and now NERSA attendees is that you'll be able to bring those experiences and those transferred skills to help us make our own classes stronger. Because if you can take 5 minutes and connect with millions in a meaningful way and motivate people to get off their couch, to want to weave workouts or movement into their day, then imagine what you're going to be able to bring to our attendees at this event to help them go out and do the same for their classes. So let's talk about the NERSA and IDEA World Convention. You are teaching 3 sessions. And by the way, where in the DMV did you grow up?
I grew up technically in Towson, Maryland, right down the street from I would say Morgan State University. But I am a proud Calvert Hall graduate, Baltimore Ravens fan through and through. But still having a 443 area code since sophomore year of high school.
Amazing. So we are going to your home state and you get to present there. So tell the audience, what are you presenting and why do people need to be in the room?
Absolutely. So on deck number one, we have Pro Athlete, the Pro Athlete Core Blueprint, which is going to be a nice little mix of strength, mobility, and control from the lens of the athlete. And again, whether it's somebody that has been a former athlete, yes, it will resonate. But somebody that has never seen themselves as an athlete, we want to connect the two, that it's not just conditioning or, fancy movements. It's how do we apply athletic movement, mobility work, because we know a great athlete is the one that can last for a decent period of time in their career or their sport or whatever, because they are dedicated to their joint integrity and mobility and lengthening and stretching, but also the control, where I try to let people know athletes, that some of the best athletes I've ever coached or been around, they weren't the fastest or the strongest, but they were the ones that were in the most control. So we know how to put that recipe together. The next part is, again, surprise, surprise, same thing, kind of a little bit from the athletic pages, is what I like to call game-changing cardio. How do we transform cardio with athletic agility? Sometimes we think of cardio movements as your jumping jacks, mountain climbers, or maybe something traditional on a treadmill or an elliptical, which is all correct. But having the ability, we created a program. I was working with a company called Daily Burn, and we created a program called Stronger for Longer. And they asked me to create, an athletic episode, if you will. But this program is dedicated kind of for our silver athletes, 55 and older in that regard. But doing that, discovering that there is athletic conditioning is just a lot of sometimes closed chain movement, figuring out how to move in multiple directions, because also, surprise, surprise, when we are working in life, when we are transferring these life skills and active daily living, very rarely are we going one direction or one direction. It is twist, pivot, turn, step. And sometimes that's where injury happens, because we haven't conditioned our body to work in those transverse planes. So we'll dive in on that. And then last but not least, I call it from trust to transaction, the new rules for fitness sales. So this is for all my PTs, group fitness instructors, managers alike that feel the ick when they're asking for the sale. Because we all know that we're in the fitness industry, not for the money, but it doesn't mean we wouldn't want to make money. But it has to be a conversation that all of a sudden we are very big and bold, but then we get very quiet when it's time to get somebody to invest in us, our programming, or wherever we might be at. So I like to call it my 6 steps to sales success, on how do you run that script? How do you know what that journey is going to be every single time, but also take the anxiety away out of when somebody says, no, thanks, but also being able to have the confidence when somebody says, I got to think about it, and knowing where to go from there. So I can't wait to be back in the DMV and get everybody rocking and rolling in those sessions.
Amazing. I think that session is going to be very well attended. Everybody, I mean, again, from my PT days, teaching trainers how to ask for the sale or how to build rapport. But I love that you're going to bring this to both group fitness instructors, to the NERSA audience, because, hey, listen, everything we do in life is about sales. You're selling yourself every single day in so many ways. And so it's nothing to be scared about. It's really just learning again, how to tap into your own energy and shift the conversation to make it about what that person asked you for to begin with. They came to you for results, right?
Seriously, you just summed it up in 30 seconds more than my long-winded speech.
Well, your class is probably going to be packed. So if you all are on the fence about attending, or if you've already signed up, you've got to reserve this session. All the sessions are going to be released in the app. You go in and pick. And because we've got 2 programs going on at once, there's a lot of session choices. But I know that Dane's classes are going to be packed and popular. So get registered, come meet with him at the event. And I know you will never regret it, even if you're scraping up pennies to get there or asking mom for some money to get there. You've got to be in the room. You got to be in the
Oh,
room.
don't be afraid to ask mom. Don't be afraid
That's
to ask.
right. Okay, so before we wrap up, I've started doing this rapid fire and I really like it. So I'm going to put you on the spot and take you through. Now, these are intended to be short responses, so you can't get too long-winded here. But the first one is, what is your pre-class ritual?
Pre-class ritual is jamming out to whatever playlist I'm about to put on and putting it pretty much at full blast.
Okay. Speaking of that, my next question is, what is your walk-in song?
My walk-in song right now, because I'm in Atlanta, is T.I. Big Things Poppin'.
Okay, T.I. Love T.I. Okay, and then what is your coaching superpower?
My coaching superpower is I coach in sound bites, so I'm going to say something very memorable that you're probably going to stick with, and I'm really good at coaching my coaching cadence to whatever like the BPM usually is in class.
Yeah, nice. And then best advice that you ever received as a coach?
Um, I, as a coach, but I also transfer this to life. When it's bad, hang in there because it will change. When it's good, appreciate it because it will change.
That's really powerful. Take that in, y'all. Dane, as you look at the fitness industry right now, what is exciting you?
Just the fact that we're bouncing back really well from that wild time in our world of 2020 where we were coming together so tight, and then the world split us apart. But I'm finding us gravitating back to each other really well, supporting each other really well, collaborating really well. This is a great example from NERSA and IDEA working that collaboration. So I'm finally it takes a while, like, right, the reconnection takes a while, but we're finally seeing that in so many different ways. And the natural progression of fitness of from the 80s to the 90s to the late 2000s, and here we're in the 2020s, that fitness has only become more and more of a priority in people's lives. And that exponential growth hasn't changed, and it will not change.
That was the biggest blessing that COVID could have brought us, was to appreciate your health, right? And I think that now we're perfectly poised as an industry to be supporting people through that journey. Okay, last, if there's any advice you could give to instructors, coaches, personal trainers listening today, what would it be?
Bet on yourself.
Ah,
Bet on yourself. Things, and I want to put some transparent on that when you do that, things will probably get harder before they get easier, and that's okay. But bet on yourself, even though it feels like the not the smartest thing to do, but it's the right thing to do. But just prepare for that journey. But just like somebody learning how to do, working out for the first time, it's going to hurt. It's going to feel uncomfortable. They're not going to like it. But we know that with progression and consistency, it's going to be the best decision that they ever made to move their body. And same thing with when you bet on yourself. It's going to hurt. It's going to feel ugly for a while. But on the other side, it's kind of like, I'm so glad I did.
that is invaluable advice for everybody listening. Is there anything we did not cover today that you want to leave the audience with?
Nah, I'm gonna mic drop it there, because this is such a blessing and opportunity, and coming full circle from receiving that email. I forget what year it was, so forgive me, of just like, hey, you've been accepted as an idea presenter. And me, I think I remember being on borderline, like, kind of tears, just like, oh my God, like, what? Like, is this real? So thank you for creating a platform. Thank you for creating a community that has impacted so many people like myself, and what will continue to do that in so many years and generations to come. And as I get to show my own two children what movement means, and it can be fun, and we'll do this full circle when maybe I don't know, maybe after volleyball, maybe your daughter picks up the mantle, and next thing you know, she's interviewing Reese or Rue on their fitness industry impact. Who knows? But just know you heard it here first in 2026 in March.
That would be epic. Dane, I want to thank you for bringing your big stage energy, your experience, and your leadership to IDEA's audience today. If you simply can't get enough of Dane's energy and you want to learn more about elevating your own voice and coaching, you have a chance to meet him in person in just a few weeks at the NERSA and IDEA World event, April 7th through the 10th in National Harbor, Maryland. And we will provide all of Dane's contact in our show notes for you. Thank you for joining. Thank you for listening. This podcast is brought to you by IDEA Health and Fitness, where fitness is our business. We'll see you next time.
We hope you have enjoyed this episode of the IDEAfit Pro Show. If you did, we'd love for you to follow, share, and give us a 5-star rating. Be sure to explore IDEAfit's vast library of past episodes featuring insights from top experts and thought leaders across a variety of topics. There truly is something for everyone. IDEAfit Pro Show is part of the IDEAfit Podcast Network. A huge thank you to our entire team at IDEA Health and Fitness Association. Copyright 2025, all rights reserved. Reproduction without permission is prohibited.